name given to these brushes. Basically, the brush, okay, brush. This which you're using, but it's I think somebody's this thing. किसी का हो ना माइक्रोफोन ऑन नहीं है, म्यूट नहीं किया हुआ है, म्यूट पार्टिसिपेंट या ओके yeah. So the materials required are microscopic slides where you'll put the material, the instrument to harvest the material like a spatula, metal spatula, cyto brush, or an oral CDX brush, toothbrush, then fixative to fix that material on the side, and the clinical report form where you write your diagnosis and you'll write the findings of your microscope, and slide marking pencil to identify whether which patient has which slide. Okay, so otherwise we'll have a little confusion and we will not be able to tell which slide belongs to which person. What are the advantages of this cytology? It's a simple, it's a rapid test, it's inexpensive, and there is no or minimal injury during sampling. So it is not like a histology or a biopsy where you have to take the patient to an OT table and make sure that there's an anesthetist and there is various other people to actually finalize the surgery. No, it's a very simple test, no PD procedure. It's a rapid, it's very quickly done, it's totally inexpensive, least amount of resources are required, and there is no or minimal injury during sampling, there is no side effect, okay? So disadvantages are, basically the biggest disadvantage of cytology is that it's becoming obsolete as we go on towards newer methods. So the disadvantages are interpretation based on a few cells. It's not that the entire organ, all the cells are there in that particular slide, because you might have poked your needle, or you might have taken the smear from one portion of the organ, not the other. So we don't have all the cells. It is not a final diagnosis, and it cannot determine the size and the type of lesion on some cases. So remember, we have to evaluate cytopathology with histopathology. So it has to be compared. Now, applications of cytogenetics, of cytopathology is for cytogenetics, for chromosomal studies, for identification of benign neoplasms, for diagnosis and management of cancer, so for benign, for malignant, for chromosome, for diagnosis of non-neoplastic inflammatory, for diagnosis of specific infections, for hormonal imbalance, to follow up progress or improvement of the disease process, like you have given the person a particular therapy, even if a leukemia treatment, we have given CHOP and all the treatment, and supposedly the person comes again with the lymph node, and we'll evaluate the person, so we should know we are actually evaluating the improvement in the disease process, whether the lymph node is reactive or it has got some malignant cells. So diagnosis of specific infections, that is bacterial, viral, protozoal, or fungal. Now the steps are, we take the sample, so sample collection, that is the first step, then the smear preparation, and then the fixation of that sample, the staining of the smear, and then finally the interpretation by the pathologist. So the samples taken are the exfoliated cells. Can be the cells which are exfoliated or aspirated from a cavity or a node or a heart swelling and body fluids. Okay, so the sample can be collected by scraping the lateral walls of the vagina. In case of pap smear, we can take an early fresh early morning sputum. We can even take a bronchial washings, we can take buccal smears, we can take spit lavage, fresh catheterized urine samples, pericardial, pleural and peritoneal fluids, we can take CSF also. Fine. Now, how do you prepare these samples? Sputum is directly put on the slide. Okay, it's a direct smear. When we have a moderate amount of fluid, that is 50 to 100 ml effusion, we centrifuge the fluid. Okay, and then whatever material is collected after centrifugation is basically high spinning of the fluid in the test tube. See, suppose we take a 5 ml of fluid we have collected, we'll put it in the test tube and we'll circulate in the centrifuge, simple centrifuge, and whatever is left in the bottom, we'll, after discarding the supernatant, we'll make it into a smear. Okay, if there is a less fluid like 1 ml, then we can take a CSF. For example, we're taking a CSF or a vitreous fluid, we use cytocentrifugation. Now, what is the difference? In a centrifuge, the centrifugal force transfers the cells which are denser than the fluid medium. Okay, the centrifugal force is the one which transfers the cell into the and they are denser, basically they are which are denser than the fluid medium. Okay, and you can say that the mixture of these denser and the lighter materials, which are normally dispersed, no, normally we don't see the heavy material and the lighter material in the fluid. So that is separated by the spun around with the high speed. So the denser material and the lighter material, they are separated with the speed of the centrifuge machine. Whereas cytocentrifuge, now that it takes the cells in a fluid suspension and transfers them to a slide. Basically, cytocentrifuge में आपको एक already prepared slide बाहर मिलेगी. Okay, so you'll have the slide on which you will get a very nicely बिल्कुल round form में आपके cells आ जाते हैं. And it depends on the machine you've got, and it can be a round or it can be in the shape of a round or a square. So cytocentrifuge will help you to it will help you to separate the cellular material without damaging it. So basically, centrifuge is a little bit of obsolete procedure, and cytocentrifuge is followed for a small amount of fluids like CSF or vitreous fluid. Okay, when there's a large amount of clear fluid like 100 to 500 ml, like urine is taken, we take millipore filter, which is not used normally. For this also we can take centrifuge or cytocentrifuge depending on the amount of fluid. And sample for immunohistochemistry, we use a cell block. So that cell block is formed in case of immunohistochemistry. Okay. Now cell block is in which you take the sample after aspiration. Suppose you have a lymph node swelling. So you'll put the needle inside it and you'll aspirate the material and you'll put it in the test tube, and you will put fluid on top of that to basically to mix the cells in the fluid, and then you will cytospin it. And then you will put it in the you'll continue the procedures just like a histopathology block. Okay, now what is the technique of cytopathology? The exfoliative cytopathology is an older branch that essentially involves the study of cells spontaneously shed off from epithelial surfaces into body cavity or body fluids. The basis is alteration in morphology and less cohesiveness of the cells. Okay. And the interventional cytology is a branch in which the samples are obtained by clinical procedures or surgical intervention. As the name suggests, it is also known as the aspiration cytology. Spontaneously, when the cells are shed off, normally also we are shedding of cells every day. So from the epithelium, whatever cells are shed off, it's a older branch, it's exfoliative cytology. Okay, and nowadays we are actually saying that entire cytology is an obsolete procedure, but interventional cytology is still preferred. Now, exfoliative cytology is a study of cells that have been shed or removed from the epithelial surfaces of various organs. So we can have a wash smear, and we can have a wash, we can have a smear, we can have a scraping, or we can have brushing. Okay, it's a bloodless type of fluid material. There is no blood in it. It's only the material, the cells in it. Interventional cytology, it's a branch in which samples are obtained by clinical procedures or surgical interventions. It is also known as aspiration cytology. It includes fine needle aspiration cytology, biopsy, imprint cytology, and crush smear cytology. Imprint cytology, in that, as the name is suggesting by itself, it's an imprint of the organ. So here touch preparations from cut surfaces of superficial excised lesions are prepared. So advantage is that the cell distribution reflects the tissue architecture, thus aiding in the interpretation. Okay, so the advantage cell distribution reflects the tissue architecture here. Fine, so the cut surface of one particular organ, you can just put the slide on top of that with little force, you can press that, and that is an imprint cytology. Okay, crush smears, they are helpful in diagnosis of tumors. It provides a recognition of tissue architecture with better cytological details. So crush smear gives you a better cytological details than imprint cytology. Then we have FNAC, fine needle aspiration cytology. It has gained importance in the last 3 decades. Almost all fine needle accessible organs can be aspirated for cytological studies. So basically, we can say that there is no contraindication for fine needle aspiration cytology, but there are few organs in which you have to be slightly more careful than the rest. For example, if you have a testicular swelling, so for that you need to only put the needle once without damaging the testes. Okay, so there are few, you can say, loopholes, or you can say there are few organs where you need to be a little more careful, but otherwise there is no contraindication for a fine needle aspiration cytology. Biopsy, that is removal of the tissue from the living animal for examination both microscopically and chemically for the diagnosis to be made. So what are the disadvantages? That is, if you're putting a needle inside somebody's swelling, so obviously there can be any hematoma. You might insert the infection inside that. There might be any rupture of any space. If it's close, swelling is close to a particular area. So pneumothorax can happen, involve surgical interaction, and collect fewer cells than scrapings. Okay, so these are the disadvantages. You need to have a surgical interaction, you need to have a histopathological interaction. Without that, it's difficult to make a final diagnosis on the basis of fine needle aspiration cytology. And we collect a fewer cells than the scrapings, and the organ may be the lymph node also, or you can say the any organ which has got a swelling mass can be very big, and you might only aspirate the small amount on the periphery, or you might not be able to reach the malignant area. So that collects fewer cells. Now, what is the imprint cytology? Now, this cut surface I told you of the lymph node, suppose we are taking, we take an Ali's tissue forceps. Okay, so this particular slide we impinge on the lymph node. Okay, so you can one side, then the other side, then another side, and then finally even the borders are to be taken. Fine. Now, what is a crush smear? Again, one slide, another slide, and we crush the tissue in between, as the name suggests. Okay. Now, FNAC application applied in diagnosis of palpable as well as non-palpable lesion. So, the palpable mass lesion. Wait, it's jaldi aapka wo aa gaya na. Wait, yeah. So FNAC applications that is applied in the palpable as a non-palpable lesion. Palpable, we know lymph node is the most common. Breast adenoma, breast carcinoma, thyroid. Again, thyroid adenoma, thyroid carcinoma of various types. Salivary gland can be benign and malignant, soft tissue masses, bones. Okay, non-palpable mass lesion can be abdominal cavity में अंदर आपके है, for example, liver में आपका hepatomegaly हो गया है, or we have a splenomegaly, we have a mass in the liver for which we need a much longer needle than a normal FNAC needle. Then we have a thoracic cavity where there is a mass, maybe thymoma is there. And retroperitoneum, you can have lymph nodes in the retroperitoneum, maybe hilar lymph nodes, in the lung. So all these are non-palpable mass lesion which requires a fine needle aspiration cytology. Okay, so now the taking palpable mass in FNAC. So this is the skin and this is the lesion. Here it's very clear cut, but otherwise you have so many things in between. Okay, so if I insert the needle into the lesion, we apply full suction to it, and we apply full suction and remove the material. Then redirect needle within target, apply suction until small amount of aspirate appears in the hub of the needle. So you have to see the hub. Hub of the needle is the starting portion. Okay. So when the hub of the needle gets a little bit material, you'll be able to understand. You can stop releasing. You can stop applying the suction. Okay. Release negative pressure before withdrawal of the needle, and detach the needle and fill syringe with air. And then again on the slide, you'll already keep the slide ready on the table, and you will push the material out of the syringe. Okay. Now limitations are, of course, we have an unsatisfactory deal. You can miss the lesion. Maybe this is your lymph node, the blue one, and you're missing it. So the needle within the central necrotic cystic hemorrhagic area devoid of the diagnostic material, this is the hemorrhagic area. So if you take out a blood hemorrhagic area in a lymph node, you will not be able to make the diagnosis. And you can have a fibrotic, desmoplastic tissue giving a scant cell material. Normally what happens is that the lymph node or the organ which you are taking the specimen from, it might become fibrotic or it might become desmoplastic after the cancer. Then it might have a scant yield material. Okay, and sampling of the dominantly benign lesion and missing a smaller adjacent malignant lesion. This blue is a malignant lesion and this white is a benign lesion. So you are actually sampling a benign counterpart and forgetting about the malignant one. Methods of smear preparation can be, you can prepare the method in streaking, spreading, full part, touch or impression smear. Okay. Now streaking is used for preparing the mucoid secretions, that is vaginal secretions, sputum and gastric content. So liquid secretions are used, in that you will have streaking. So use a spatula, dissecting needle or an applicator stick and streak in a zigzag fashion like this. Okay. and basically you're discarding less amount of it, because sometimes sputum is very less, so you will streak the entire amount you have taken out. Okay, spreading, use a thick mucoid, used for thick mucoid secretions. You can use these material, this sputum, vaginal secretion, gastric content, and you can use spreading also in that. Smears of fresh sputum and bronchial aspirates. So this area is a bronchial aspirate we have put, suppose, and another, this one slide is, on one slide you will put one drop, and the other is a spreader smear, and with that you will spread the slide in one direction. Okay. Now full part for serous fluids, concentrated sputum, enzymatic lavage from the GIT, from the GIT, smears of urinary sediment, vaginal pool, and breast secretions. So here you will have the smear, this slide, and you will have this red colored is a material, and you will slide in the opposite direction. Okay, so this is the entire smear formed. Fine. And up to this one. So it's a full part. The entire slide, more than 2/3 of the entire slide is got the smear. Now this is the touch preparation impression cytology being collected from a patient using a sterile glass slide with polished edges. So you will have, this slide should be sterile, but if you're using somebody's vitreous humor or some some deformity in the cornea, so you need to use the this sterile slide, glass slide, okay, with polished edges. Now squash, that is fairly accurate. It has got a simple and reliable tool for rapid intraoperative diagnosis of central nervous system lesion. So we use the squash smear. We can use others also. We can use various other smears which are studied in brain. But for CNS lesions, for brain lesions, we use squash smear. It is very accurate and it is very friable, soft mass. So it is easy to make. Based on two essential factors: availability of very small tissue fragments and good preservation of fine cellular details, and not affected by edema, hemorrhage, necrosis, and calcification. Basically, squash smear is it's not affected by any other hindrance like edema, hemorrhage, necrosis, and calcification. So it is easy to evaluate also. Fine. So here you can take. This is basically, you have taken multiple drops, touch preparation. Okay. This is the squash preparation. You take the slide, you squash it, and this is the smear preparation. You make it like a smear of RBC. Okay. Hematology में जैसे हम बनाते हैं, so this is the smear preparation, this is squash, and this is the imprint. You touch it, the touch preparation. Fine. Now this is the conventional smear, and this is thin prep slide. Basically, we have two types. That is the thin prep and sure pad slides for liquid-based cytology in vaginal smears. So that is one of the examples where I wanted to show you that this is the conventional, which is spread to the entire slide, and this is a thin prep, which is only concentrated on one single place. Okay, so this is how a conventional smear look. This is how it looks, all spread everywhere. So you have to keep searching for cells. This is a thin prep, a higher way to diagnose liquid-based cytology for vaginal smears, and see how nicely the cells are concentrated to the single round place, and it is very nicely scattered in colorful slide. Okay, so basically this is the difference. Now, cell block, it is a procedure to convert cell sediment into a paraffin block. So basically we are converting, this is the cell sediment and this is the supernatant. So we are converting it into a block. It has got an advantage that that particular block now can be used for putting many stains, many special stains, or many special IHC markers. We can use immunohistochemical markers, the tumor markers which you have studied in neoplasia, to diagnose the particular tissue better. Okay, if you have any confusion, you can put a marker and see which side it is. It's smooth muscle, it is something else. Okay. Now how we fix this material to the slide? We have various fixatives in cytology. Fixation means prevention of degeneration of the cells and tissue. Now once the material you've put on the slide can degenerate, but for preventing that, we need to use fixative. We need to see the cell as it is, like it is in the body. Okay, preservation of cells as close as possible to the living state, and specific periods of time. We can see today, we can, if you want, suppose we have many specimens, we can even see it tomorrow, day after tomorrow. So it increases the the shelf life of the tissue, changes the physical and the chemical state of the cells. Now, an appropriate fixative for cytodiagnostic purposes should perform the following functions: penetrate the cells rapidly, minimize the cell's biological integrity, deactivate the autolytic enzymes. So all these are actually maintaining the cell in its original form. Replace the cellular water. It should not be like that, no, because our body has water. So water to aayega hi aapke cells ke sath. So it should replace that water so that there is no shrinkage. Helps the cell to adhere to the glass surface and provide consistent results over time. Okay, you can see it even after 1 week, 1 month. Pathological examination must be properly fixed to ensure preservation of cytomorphological details. Methods of fixing vary depending upon the type of staining employed. Materials usually fixed for use Papinoculum and H&E staining. So we use hematoxylin and eosin and Papinoculum stains, and for that we need a well-fixed material. Okay, but sometimes we don't even require this fixative. We only require air. So we air dry the smear and we use it in Romanowski staining. Okay, so special purpose fixative may be buffered neutral formalin, bonds, fluid, and picric acid. Okay, these are the fixative which we can use, which we are using daily. Fine. Formalin is very cheap and easily available, so it is the most commonly used. Now, wet fixation is done by 95% ethyl alcohol. These are the names you should know. The rest is okay, little bit. So, ideal fixative recommended. It's a dehydrating agent, desired amount of cell contraction, and yield optimal chromatin detail characteristic. So remember, in 95% ethyl alcohol or ethanol, it's an ideal fixative. It is cheaper also. It's an ideal fixative. It's a dehydrating agent also. Fine. And 100% ethanol is used. It's a similar effect on cell as the 95% ethanol, but it is more expensive. Ether alcohol mixture also you can use in 1:1 ratio. It's an excellent fixative, but to get ether in the market is difficult. Procuring ether is difficult and it's dangerous. And 100% methanol, it produces less shrinkage than ethanol. Okay, methanol produces less shrinkage and it's more expensive. Okay, and 80% propanol, isopropanol causes slightly more cell shrinkage. Denatured alcohol you can use, that is 90% of 95% ethanol and 5% of 100% methanol with 5 parts of 100% isopropanol. So you can learn that ethanol and methanol in all kinds of form. 95% ethyl alcohol, 100% ethanol, then ether alcohol mixture, 100% methanol, 80% propanol, isopropanol, and denatured alcohol. Okay, now staining can be wet fixed and air dried. Wet fixed, I told you, for Papinoculum and H&E staining, which is regularly used, and air dried for Romanowski staining. Romanowski stains are Wright, Giemsa, May Grunwald Giemsa stain, and Wright's Giemsa stain. Okay. Fine. Now, the Papinoculum staining is one of the staining I wanted to discuss with you. That is, I mean, I wanted to tell you that if you want, if somebody wants to write about stain, so it's the easiest stain to write about. So in this, if you want, you can copy this. Remove polyethyl alcohol fixative in 50% alcohol for 2 minutes. We hydrate in 95% ethanol, alcohol for 2 minutes. Fine, it's 70% alcohol for 2 minutes. Rinse in water 1 minute. Stain with Harris hematoxylin for 5 minutes. Rinse in water for again for 2 minutes. It's not important for you, but if somebody is interested in learning how cytology, one stain we follow. Differentiate in 0.5% aqueous HCl, 10 seconds approximately. Then again rinse in water 2 minutes. So you can see here, first we are hydrating, then we are staining, and then we are dehydrating. Okay, so once we hydrate it, then we stain it, and then we are dehydrating the smear, okay, with alcohol. Then again stain with EA and alcohol 1 minute. Then mount cover slip with DPX. Okay. Fine. Now, this I wanted to show you that in Papinoculum stain, we have a lot of colors in this, so it's easy to identify which cell is at what maturation. So, in hematoxylin, the nuclei stain is blue and black, which you can see here. This is a blue colored nuclei. You can see a blue colored cell along with a pink colored cells. So, the keratinizing cells are pink in color. They are stained with OG6. Okay, and the blue are intermediate intermediate epithelial cells. Okay, so the nucleus is stained as blue and green, and the keratinized part is stained as pink. Fine. Using Y stain the squamous cell, nucleoli, RBCs as red and pink. Fine. So you can see here the blue is nuclei, and if you see very closely, इसमें भी नहीं है ना. Okay, so keratinization is pink, the nuclei is blue in color. Fine. Okay, so interpretation goes like this. There's a normal smear, there's an abnormal smear. Abnormal can be inflammatory and non-inflammatory. Inflammatory can be septic and non-septic, and non-inflammatory can be non-neoplastic and neoplastic. Okay, the non-neoplastic can be in hyperplasia and hypertrophy, and neoplastic again can be divided into benign and malignant. Fine. Now, this in the systemic study of smears, we can actually divide it into 5 parts. That is class 1, which is normal, and only normal cells are observed, into class 5, which is positive for cancer. So, in the between, you'll have atypical, intermediate, suggestive of cancer, and positive for cancer. You can divide the study into these categories. Okay. So, for all the organs we are sampling, for any organ, for salivary gland, for thyroid, we have a class 1, which is normal, and class 5, which is positive for malignancy. Fine. Now I'll show you a few smears, which is like how they are stained and how they look like. For example, this one. Fine. This is a giant cell. This is malignant cell. You can actually identify it through its nucleolus and its irregular outline. Fine. So this is how it looks after staining. This is a giant cell. You can see multinucleated giant cell. This is again a malignant cell. Same here, this is a binucleate. So you can tell the nuclear and the cytoplasmic architecture with the help of these cells. Fine. Now, this is all I wanted to tell you in cytology. Okay. Fine, then it was a very small class. If you have any doubt, you can always write down on this thing. Okay. Okay, then thank you for your patience.